This is Jimmy Chang. Today I'm going to talk about broken clavicles. The website PopSci, otherwise known as Popular Science, wrote an article entitled, "How this one-wheeled skateboard lets riders cruise without crashing." I'm not sure what type of science PopSci used to prove that, but I'll use a little bit of the scientific method to prove my hypothesis that injuries happen more often to a rider's lead shoulder. So I regularly watch a guy on YouTube named Casey Neistat. Maybe you've heard of him. Casey's a popular filmmaker and one of the biggest YouTubers/vloggers to ride the Onewheel. While Casey normally shows himself riding his boosted board in his videos, there are a few videos where he rides his Onewheel. Recently, Casey shared a video and a story about how he broke his collarbone into 3 pieces. I'm not going to share the entire story with you, you can watch that on your own, but I will tell you this. He broke his collarbone falling from his Onewheel. This got me thinking, why do so many people break their collarbones riding the Onewheel? Well, in the summer of 2018, I posted my first Onewheel video. It was a crappy video of me documenting a ride through the park where I happened to fall. I decided to share that video because at that point, I realized that Onewheels are dangerous and people need to know how to protect themselves from injury. Back to this collarbone clavicle fracture business. As I talked to more and more people, I began to notice that a lot of people were breaking their collarbones falling off of their Onewheels. Remember my interview with Driftwood? He broke his clavicle.
And then I got to ride one of my friend's Onewheel. And my first time on it, I was like, this is amazing. I felt so comfortable on it right away, which is why I bailed and broke my collarbone. But even then, in the hospital, they're getting x-rays. I'm like, how do I afford one of these?
Remember Andrew from my scooter video? He broke his clavicle too.
Why do you have 2 of these scooters? Oh, I just bought it for me and my wife, just to ride around on, you know, because she's afraid of the Onewheel because I broke my collarbone on it.
Is this an epidemic? For this video, I'm not going to talk about how to prevent injury. I'm going to talk about Casey's injury because it's so common. Clavicle and shoulder injuries are super common given the sideways stance and the speed at which the falls happen off of a Onewheel. Just to try to prove that my hypothesis that injuries tend to occur to your lead shoulder, arm, and clavicle more often than not, I did a quick search for Onewheel injuries and found several videos of nosedive type falls. I'm going to play those here for you. And what you'll notice is that the falls happen fast, few people have time or skill to run it out, some are able to tuck and roll, but most of the falls result in the rider's lead side hitting the ground. There are few cases of the falls resulting in a strange belly flop type fall, also not recommended. If you want to see the full clips of these falls, I've left links to their videos below. You see, collarbone or clavicle injuries and AC joint or acromioclavicular joint injuries happen a lot in the NFL. But those injuries are usually because you have a 200+ pound man driving you in to the ground, shoulder first, with all his weight. A nosedive type fall on a Onewheel comes out of nowhere and with almost no time to react. This usually happens at relatively fast speeds, and when the nose of the Onewheel dives into the ground, your momentum carries you forward into the ground. Check out this dismount from a low speed. Even at a low speed, you can see how Casey is barely able to stay on his feet as he runs out the sudden stop on the Onewheel. At higher speeds, there's little time to tuck and roll. Even if the rider has time to react and puts his or her arms out, the palms of their lead hand usually ends up catching on the asphalt and either sliding forward or catching as their body continues forward and the lead shoulder slamming into the ground. This results in acromioclavicular joint injuries and clavicle injuries. Most commonly, and usually the rider's lead shoulder is involved. If you ride regular, your lead shoulder is your left side, so that would be your left shoulder and clavicle. And if you ride goofy, your lead shoulder is your right shoulder, so that would be your right side. While that rule doesn't hold up all the time, I think it holds up most of the time, like greater than 50%. Clavicles most commonly fracture in the middle. When they fracture at multiple sites, it's called a comminuted fracture. If the fracture fragments shift and displace, in addition to the pain and swelling, you get an obvious deformity. That's what Casey had. My impression based on listening to Casey's story is that he suffered a comminuted, displaced clavicle fracture. Now, I'm not his doctor, I'm not your doctor, I'm just playing a doctor on YouTube. But I'm pretty sure that Casey didn't have surgery. Most likely, his doctors immobilized his shoulder and let the fractures heal. Some folks have surgery if the fracture is bad enough, or if they don't like the thought of having a huge bony lump sticking out of their collarbone area. But it seems to me that Casey's okay with having a big lump on his upper chest. It's almost like a trophy or something to show off. Again, none of this is medical advice. I offer it as a little education and entertainment. Edutainment, if you will. I'm glad Casey's injury wasn't more severe. If you haven't seen his video, go check it out. My hypothesis is that regular riders usually hurt their left shoulder while goofy riders usually hurt their right shoulder. That's my hypothesis, and I'd love to have more data points. Have you injured your shoulder or broken your clavicle from a nosedive? If so, in the name of science, leave a comment and let me know if the injury occurred to your lead shoulder or not. I'm going to end this with a nosedive clip my kids found on the app TikTok. There's something very curious here that, up until now, I've only heard of, but I've never seen caught on camera. If you watch carefully, you'll see the rider's headlights turn off right before the crash. Is this the first ever caught on camera, random and spontaneous one-wheel shutoff? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this topic. I also hope you guys enjoyed this footage of me riding around in Marymoor Park near Seattle. Here I am hoping that my board doesn't cut off. Looking at these shadows, even in the shadows I see Onewheels. My goal is to educate, entertain, and to encourage you guys to get out there and have some safe fun. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out. I appreciate you, the support, and the encouraging comments. As always, thanks for watching, and make sure to wear your safety gear.